Well, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Wil Vincent here from GlacierTV with another one of our 2013 Pro Series interviews. And seeing as he decided to win the championship one race early, we thought we'd do it with your 2013 Pro Series champion, Mr. Chris Overland of Last Row Motorsports. Congratulations, Chris.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I'm glad I got to do another interview with you. The last one was really fun.
It was. Of course, we did all the outtakes as well, that people only got to see one of them, but it was a kind of fun interview, so we get to do it all over again. And what people don't realise is this is the third time we've done this one.
Yeah, you failed to tell me the last time that we were going to post those outtakes, so that was really embarrassing. I didn't feel comfortable with doing a webcam interview with my hair the way it was anyway, so...
So what you're essentially telling me is that the last interview was the reason why you cut your hair off?
No, that wasn't it. I was ready to change my hair. I didn't like the way it looked, but why are we talking about my hair anyway?
Well, there's a good reason why, because you chopped your hair off, and of course on the Wil and Dave Show, which is something that GlacierTV does, we made a joke that as soon as you chop your hair off, you're going to lose all of your magical powers, and you were going to fall outside the top 25 in points, and then you're going to win a race at Pocono. What happened there?
Well, first off, I didn't have any magical powers when I had long hair, so I don't know what you're referring to there. I'm not superstitious, but I do think that there's something to do with the hair. I've been feeling a lot better, I'll tell you that.
Can I make a really silly comment? Is it because of the fact that you could actually see out of your eyes?
Yeah, probably. My head feels a lot lighter, too. I'm not going in the corner. No. I'm playing around. Honestly, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's dumb luck or something, but I mean the win at Pocono was amazing. Of all places, right?
Yeah, I mean of all the places, it's Pocono, and on one hand it's the track that no one really cares about on NASCAR. We have 2 races a year that everyone's like, eh. But on the other hand, it's arguably one of the most difficult and technical tracks to win a race at. So you put the two together, still a bloody good win.
Yeah, I was actually talking to the person who paints most of the cars for Last Row guys, Dylan Schmidt, and he wanted to make a trophy, and I mean, I wanted one, you know, I won a race. That was kind of what I wanted, and he was painting it up, and I thought it looked really good, and I was thinking the whole time, man, I hate Pocono. I didn't want a trophy from Pocono, but I mean... I did want Daytona, and I guess when it comes to talent and driver ability, that Pocono is far more advanced than Daytona. So, I mean, I'd rather have Pocono than no win.
In different ways, though, of course, because,
yeah.
I mean, everyone thinks Daytona, you know, it's just, you know, put the sim brake on and stop 200 miles later. But in reality, you and I both know, especially at the level that you guys race at, Daytona is incredibly difficult. And unfortunately, luck didn't go your way again this year. Yeah,
I guess I race differently when it comes to Daytona because I know that everybody has a chance to win, and everybody is including me. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I didn't give myself enough credit for the other tracks or what, but when it comes to Daytona, I always race differently because I know I got a shot, and I guess it bites me in the ass, for lack of a better word.
And of course, you're generally considered to be one of the favourites as well at Daytona. Does that kind of add a degree of pressure onto you going to that type of race?
No, not really. Not any more than I put on myself. I know that I put a lot of pressure on myself at tracks that I think I can win, and Daytona and Talladega are the top two. When it comes to Pro and DWC, I mean, I couldn't hope to win anywhere else. But just, I guess the stress of putting yourself in a position to win, because Daytona and Talladega, it's always easier to think of what you should have done in hindsight, and making the right decisions there is critical.
Well, yeah. Being in the right place at the right... And so often it's not even your fault, per se. It's just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But in many ways, Daytona was a bit of a turning point for your season, because it had been pretty good up until that point. Then Daytona happened. Then you go and get yourself a win. then you're going to get yourself 2 third places in a row at Michigan and at Richmond. Then, all of a sudden, you and I are talking, coming up to Watkins Glen, and we're like, wait a minute, you've got a shot winning this championship.
Yeah, Daytona, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this or not, but Daytona, I got an email from Shannon. He didn't send me out of nowhere. Me and him had been talking. I had sent him an email prior to that, and he had told me that I needed to work on my racing because I was over the top at Daytona. And when an iRacing official tells you that you need to take it easy, I thought that was probably the turning point for me, and I was less focused on what people thought of me and more focused on, okay, I threw away a good shot at the finish trying to go for the win. I need to stop that, put myself in a position, avoid wrecks, and don't run my mouth so much. And I guess just that thought, the sim racing gods thought that it was my turn to win, and I don't know. I still don't know what to say about that win. It was incredible.
And then the 2 third places afterwards. Overall, 3 very different tracks. You had the Tricky Triangle. You had Michigan, which is all about speed and setup and consistency. And then you had Richmond, and Richmond's always a bitch of a track to drive at.
Yeah, Richmond was crazy. I got the pole, which was ridiculous. I went out there for qualifying, and everything just sticked. But I mostly just stayed out of trouble that whole race, and I had fresh tires on the last run. Brought it home third, and for Richmond and for me personally, that was when I considered going in with a point lead. That was a decent amount. I had 29-point lead. It was hard to ignore it, and I spent that whole 2-3 week break stressing myself out about it.
And that gap as well, and then you're leading yourself onto a road course in Watkins Glen, and of course you talk about wildcard races, you normally think about Daytona, but Watkins as well, always one of those races where you have your own destiny, but sometimes it's completely out of your hand, and that was almost the case for you at one point.
Yeah, the first lap was, I got pretty, I'm not going to call it dive bomb. Well, I got put in a pretty bad situation, and I think we were 3x3x3 going into that corner, and someone got spun out. My teammate Charlie Foster got spun out right next to me and was coming down the track, and I barely missed him, and that would have been the end of my day. But once I got clean air, I just focused on hitting my marks and just tried not to screw up.
And of course, the road races are always a huge bane of controversy over whether they should run them, whether they shouldn't run them, how long. But at the end of the day, this is 21st century NASCAR, where everyone's always talking about adding another race almost to the Sprint Cup Series on a road course. And they, of course, always talk about having one in the Chase. So, in many ways, having one in the Pro Series, it just adds that crazy realism aspect once again.
Right. And, well, we had one in the Class A Series when I was going for Pro. We have one in the Pro Series, and we got one in DWC for next year. So, I mean, the controversy should be gone now. Everybody knows that there's road courses and that NASCAR goes to road courses. And if they want to be a NASCAR driver, or quote unquote, in iRacing, they're going to have to figure out how to race them. And I spent a lot less time complaining about it. I know some people just did not want it on the schedule at all. They wanted to replace it with Auto Club. They wanted to replace it with anything. But you just turn laps there and you figure out all it is an oval with different braking points in each corner and different turning points in each corner, different apexes in each corner. You just learn the track and you cut laps. It's all it is. And when it comes to road course racing and oval racing, I don't differ from it, because all it is turning the wheel the opposite way for me, I think.
And in many ways, you make a good point, because it's all about rhythm. Yeah, you're just adding different combinations, but it is all about rhythm, especially in the car that we're running in. You know, it's a heavy car, so you're not really going to gain too much time doing crazy stuff with it. So it's all about keeping that momentum across the racetrack, surely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty much the same for every single track in real life, sim racing, and everything. Just keeping momentum up, keeping a rhythm, keeping your head cool, and that's what I've tried to do this season. Is just focus less on the car in front of me and just focus more on doing what I can do. And I didn't know that I could do this. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I want to go back to that post Daytona because quite often the whole, I wouldn't say there's a whole, there is a mentality, that whole saying, if you're not first, you're last. When in the harsh realities, I think we've really proven this season with you that just because you're not first doesn't mean that you're last. You're just second or third. And the way the point system especially works in the Pro Series and in the WCS, you know, there's not that much of a points gap between P1 and P2. Definitely not between P2 and P3. So in reality, it's more about consistent top fives. Maybe, you know, if you fall out of top 5, at least keeping them in the top 10, definitely top 15 every race long. And again, with the exception of Daytona, that's really been the story of your season, the consistency.
Yeah, that's all that I was trying to do when it came to the Pro Series. I know you talked to Nicholas Morris at the beginning of the year, and you talked to me at the beginning of the year, and my focus was top 20s, and he told you the same thing. If you finish 20th each week, you can't finish any worse than 20th in the points. So that was my goal. And when it came to Daytona and I saw myself, think 5th, 6th in the points, something like that, I said, okay, I'm going for the win because I know I can. Anybody can. And it bit me. So I went back to just trying to finish the race and trying to let things come my way, and it turned out to work for me.
And how important has that experience been? Being on both sides of the coin, leading the championship, falling back because of what, you know, was a maybe bad judgment call, bad mistake, and being, you know, in various places of the championship. How is that going to help you moving into the big leagues of the WCS? And let's not forget, this isn't your first time over there.
Well, my first time in the World Series or World Championship Series was embarrassing. I'm honestly embarrassed for myself for how I ran there because I'd always find myself in bad situations because I forced them, and a lot of that happened at Daytona. And after that, I said I don't want to be that guy anymore. I don't want to be the guy who you look in your mirror and you say, "Come on, man, I don't want him anywhere near me." You know, I want to be the guy who runs a boring race and comes out with a good finish. And I didn't force anything stupid at Pocono, and had I might not have won the race. So that was a turning point for me. That told me, okay, as long as I do what I'm capable of and don't try to force other people into mistakes, I can do something with this. I can finish strong in the points. And I just focused on who I needed to beat. And as long as I was beating them, I was perfectly content with the position I was in. And just one by one, people eliminated themselves without any of my doing, or because I certainly was racking off good finishes, but I wasn't anything spectacular. But everybody else would make mistakes, and with one drop week, you can't afford them.
And you talk about the Chris Overland of a couple of years back. Do you think that the work that you've had to do, leaving the WCS, not requalifying for the Pro Series, for the WCS for the Pro Series, having to go all the way back to Class A, then Pro, now back into WCS, do you think that you've been able to regain a lot of the respect of your fellow drivers? I mean, let's not say, I'm not saying here that you had no respect, but, you know, regain a lot of the respect of your fellow drivers, and you now feel, you know, that you're on an equal footing with them?
Well, I think I speak for everybody in the 2012 World Championship Series, or anybody who's in it right now who hasn't gone through this Pro Series with me, that I the respect that I did have, I probably did not earn, because there's so many Pro Series and World Championship drivers who will say that it's not hard to make the Pro Series. Not um, it's not hard to make DWC or things like that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there are people who think strongly about that, and I was one of the people in their eyes that did not earn their way in and did not earn what they had. So no, I did not think that I had the respect, but respect is earned, and I have to earn it. And I think now, um, if anything, with my season the way it's been, I don't mind if people don't think that I'm the caliber of driver that a champion would be. But uh, getting the respect that I think that I feel that I've earned now, I think that I've gotten that from most of them. And if I haven't, I mean, there's nothing that I can do about that. But I've certainly tried to change the way I drive and the way I act, and I think that I've done a decent job at it with the help of all the guys at Last Row and Eddie Walzik at Double Clutch.
Now, you have got one race left in the Pro Series. It's not over yet. And you said to me before that there's one guy who you want to beat at Charlotte. Now the championship's out of the way. There's one guy who you want to beat. And, of course, he's the guy who's, 4 wins in a row now he's taken in the Pro Series. And, I mean, Kenny has just been phenomenal this season as well.
Yeah, when it came to Watkins Glen, I know that Kenny got his 2 wins in a row, and I was proud of him. I was happy for him. He's a great driver. He's always been great, far beyond my extent, far beyond most of the entire iRacing service extent. When Watkins Glen ended, he wasn't even on my radar as far as championship contenders. I didn't know where he was in the points. But when he left Watkins Glen with 3 in a row, and then he won, one of these races here, they called him for 46 points. Yeah, at the end of Watkins Glen, they said he was 46 points behind me in second place. And I had just been focusing on beat Brandon Schmidt, beat Josh Berry, beat Landon Harrison, if I could, or minimize damage. I had no idea Kenny Humphries was in the running, and when I heard Kenny Humphries in the running for the championship, my heart just sunk. I thought, how am I going to lose this one? He's going to win the next 2 races, and I'm going to screw up. And thank God that I minimized damage. I didn't have a bad race at New Hampshire, and I was able to clinch. So the goal for next week, I guess, since I've clinched the championship, unless something completely unreal happens, I'm just going to do what I can to try to get 2 on the season, as opposed to letting Kenny get 5, because he's going to be in the World Championship Series. There's going to be so much talent in the World Championship Series. And if I want a shot at being back for the 2015 DWC, or possibly, I mean, in my wildest dreams, coming out with the $10,000, I'm going to have to figure out a way to beat him and Ray and Tyler and those guys who are so good at this and have been doing this much longer than I have. And I guess I'm just setting goals for myself until I can reach them, because Kenny is a hard goal to reach as far as catching him and passing him on the racetrack. So we're going to see what we got for next week, this Tuesday, and then we'll take that into the World Championship Series.
In many ways, I guess that you're happy, relieved the fact that you got it out of the way and didn't let it come down to the final round at Charlotte with all the pressure and, again, the form that Kenny's been in.
Yeah, it's definitely relief. A lot of people have asked me how I feel to be champion. I got asked that by Brian Schoenberg, a couple other people. It's relief, because the whole entire time, I'm sure a lot of the iRacing service was thinking this about me too, is how is Kenny going to take this one? How is he going to get it? He's got a lot of work to gain. He's won the last 4 races, and if I hadn't clinched today, this week, it would have came down to next week, and he might have got it. So it's definitely relief. it's a big weight off my shoulders because I stress out about this more than anybody else in this service. I can probably guarantee that because I spend incredible amounts of time on here.
So let's talk about 2013. Of course, we start season at the track that you love but always have the issues with, at Daytona. It's a long season. It's got the variety of courses. It's even got the Pocono track that you won at. How do you think the 2014 season is going to go? Everything from the last 3 years borne in mind.
Well, I sat here and I told you I was going to try for top 20. I think maybe score one top 5 is what I told you as far as finishing position goes. And I'm sitting here having this interview with you about being champion, so I can't tell you where I'm going to be at the end of the DWC season. But if it is possible, I would like to come out with a top 10 in points or just be back for the 2015 in a DWC because I've got great sponsors. I've got Eddie and Jen Walls, like a double clutch. I've got all the guys at Last Row Motorsports who I'm pretty certain will be around by then. So I guess just looking at this from a continuing on sort of deal, 2015 DWC is what I'm planning to be at. And in 2015, I think that I will have learned enough about the car and about the racing that I can possibly talk to you about championship, possibly talk to you about winning races. But racing Ray Alfala and Tyler Hudson and Joey Brown, the guy who's basically mentored me up to this point, I'm not going to have his help because we're competitors when I get to the DWC. So I can't tell you, but I'm hoping for the best. And definitely if I can pull off a win or top 5 or top 10, I'm going to be ecstatic.
So this year in many ways is a kind of learning year, a progression year. The progression year arguably that could have been 2012.
Yeah, 2012 I was really naive. The car, I mean, a lot of people thought the car wasn't ready for the type of racing that we were having. A lot of people thought the tires do not fall off, will not fall off no matter what. Drive as hard as you can every single lap. And that's what I thought. Now this year I've evolved essentially to I can't drive like an ass every week and get away with it. The car does take finesse now, and it does take consistency, which I certainly was not in 2012. So now that I've got some things figured out more about the car and the sim and the way people race, I think that learning how Ray and Tyler and Joey and Nick Onger, how they do what they do, is going to be the research that I'm going to be doing this season. And 2015 will, if I'm there, will probably be the year that I try for it. But you never know how this year starts out. I could end up 43rd at Daytona. I could DNQ for Daytona. Oh, actually, I can't because I'm locked in. But I could finish 43rd at Daytona. I could win Daytona. You never know what's going to happen. But I'm going to try my best. I will guarantee you that.
I'll ask you a crazy question. Which would be worth more to you? Getting yourself locked in to the 2015 season, and let's make it a top 15 for this year's championship, or one win.
I think the win. Honestly, I would like to be back for the 2015 DWC, but there's always the Pro Series, and considering what's happened this year, if I have to run through the Pro Series again, I'm confident that I can get back to the 2015 DWC. So I guess I caught you in a loophole there, but I would enjoy a win because the amount of publicity that you get from the World Championship Series is more than I could ask for a video game simulator.
And of course, you're on the big stage with our friends over at PSR TV as well. So Tim Terry calling your name out multiple, and that's got to add a bit of pressure on it as well because Tim and the gang don't mince their words. If you mess up, they're going to let you know that you've messed up.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure I was part of that discussion in 2012. Not so much 2013 Pro Series, but I could have been. I made a very big error at New Hampshire. I dumped Brad Mayhar, and I feel horrible for that. Brad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But, yeah, it does put a little bit of pressure on knowing that people are watching. But it does bring a lot of prestige if you can pull off a win or you can pull off a championship. And, yeah.
I'm going to tell you how many people's watching. I'm going to compare it. You know when you go to your local club venue and see a band?
Yes.
And it's fully booked?
Right.
That many people.
That's pretty intense. That's more than I can ask for an online broadcasted race. I definitely couldn't perform like that in front of those many people. If there were that many people behind me while I raced, I couldn't do it.
I mean, when you put it into that perspective, how crazy is it that there are a good couple of thousand people every 2 weeks, either cheering you on, hating your guts, or somewhere in the middle?
Well, let's hope that there's not too many people hating my guts, but it does put pressure on. I'm sure it puts pressure on for everybody. You ask anybody that question, it does change a little bit of it. Because regardless of what people think of iRacing or what people think of the car that we drive or what they think of the racing, there's still that many people watching you, and they want to see how good you can compete against everybody else. So everybody wants to see somebody come out on top, and whether they're rooting against you or rooting for you, you've got eyes on you.
It's okay. The only time I've ever been on the big stage, I completely messed up, so it's okay. Before I let you go, of course, you have got an incredible group of people who work with you. Who want to say thank you. I know you've got your teammates, you've got your sponsors, you've got your family, you've got your friends, you've got the Wil and Dave Show. Go on.
Yeah, the Wil and Dave Show. They've given me $25,000. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, first off, I want to say thanks to my dad. He'll probably be watching this interview when it's posted, and my dad's been the biggest supporter of my sim racing career. We'll call it that. And when he found out that I clinched, he was proud of me, and I would love to say that I went out and I partied and I invited all these chicks over and we had this great big shebang, but me and my dad just sat around and we enjoyed each other's company, because my dad is a huge NASCAR fan, and to call myself a NASCAR champion, whether it's on the video game or in real life, makes him ecstatic. So big thanks to my dad. All the guys at Last Row Motorsports, PJ Sturgis, Jake Sturgis, Joey Brown, Nick Morris, they recruited me. And those guys are just a great group of people. Charlie, Sasha, everybody over there, if you're watching this on Last Row, thanks so much for all of your support. And Double Clutch with Eddie and Jen Walczyk, we've been talking, and we're pretty much set on 2014 DWC sponsorship and maybe things going to the future beyond that. So big thanks to Eddie and Jen and everybody behind all that. All the people at Sim Racers Garage. And I'm going to shut up now because I've been talking too much.
No worries. Well, again, congratulations, Chris. I'm going to play some music to play us out.
All right.
There we are.
Sounds good.
Well,
thank you very much, Will.
Oh, no, thank you. 2013 Pro Series champion, Mr. Christopher Overland. Oh, Overland? This interview would have been amazing, and I ruined it in the last 10 seconds. Should we start again?
No.
Your 2013 Pro Series champion for the iRacing.com NASCAR Pro Series, Mr. Christopher Overland from Last Row Motorsports. I got it. Of course, big shout out as well to all the guys over at Last Row Motorsports and Double Clutch. Also to iRacing as well. Of course, for providing some of the greatest sim race championships in the world. Head over to iRacing.com right now. Get yourself half price off your first 3, 6, or 12-month membership. It's amazing. I know. Also, don't forget, GlacierTV is your home for the 2013 iRacing.com World Cup Finals. That will be on Saturday the 18th. Coverage starts at 1 p.m. GMT. You're going to have Finland, Diach. It's 1 p.m. You've got Finland, Diach, Club UK Ireland, Brazil, and Iberia all battling to become the next iRacing World Cup champions. For myself, Will Vincent, and that gorgeous sweetheart over there, Christopher Overland, we'll talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.